go. This constant, every day, something new in the news, some breaking news, some new disaster, some new meltdown, doesn't give us a chance to step back and actually supply this planet with the vibration that can restore it. And it's as easy as that, just like a human body. You remove the cigarettes, you remove the lifestyle, you remove the threat for long enough, and the body naturally heals it. It doesn't take much effort if it can just put away the danger and the threat.
That's right. And, of course, some of the threats include genetically modified food now, and some of the nanotechnology that's going on. And I think you mentioned the chemtrails as well, but those are all things that are designed to throw us off and keep us off balance. So one thing I heard said about 2012 was that it might be a time when there will be a breaking up of timelines. In other words, that there may be one timeline or two timelines or three timelines that go in different directions. Have you heard that anywhere at all in your studies or research?
Yeah, well, see, I haven't done a lot of study and research. It's more, everything has been kind of about survival and having the ability to have those kind of visions to get a sense of where I'm headed and how I can kind of stay on the time. I wouldn't call it really a timeline, maybe for now it is, but I've had to stay very connected to what I consider a natural stargate based on the Venus transit. The whole thing is connected to Venus, and the whole path of the feminine energies have been, like the morning and evening star, similar to the Christ path of going into the underworld, kind of dying, resurrecting, and doing all this kind of global alchemy to kind of keep this weaving happening through multi-dimensions so that when the stargate opens, it acts as a bridge to the higher world. And it's a bridge that can bring in the higher realms, anchor it on Earth, and if it's still too hostile here, it's a gateway that we can walk through. And I've been very, very aligned with that, and the reason I haven't been able to read or do much research is because just walking my path alone has given me so much information just intuitively and from all these different angles and all these symbols and all these signs and all this information that came to me from others about what I'm here to do that I've been so immersed in it. And then I, maybe flip through something or read something later and I say, yep, that's it. But I can never really read anything. I can only agree with it or say, well, that's not quite how I see it. It doesn't mean it's wrong. But I very much see this a similar thing where 2012 is this moment where all these different avenues are available to us, based on wherever we've initiated ourselves into, how much we, are compatible with a certain aspect of a frequency, It's like you can't, and I'm kind of repeating myself, but you can't put a lower entity in heaven, not because it's judged, because it just doesn't vibrate at that level.
Right.
So it's not about judgment like you were bad. It's like they've lowered themselves to a lower density by simply being unethical, having no morals, having no concern for their fellow human, and that's just a low vibration, so it attracts whatever timeline that they're entering is based on who and how they've been. Doesn't mean they can't transform, but it's just the law of attraction. Those of us who have, really just wanted, global healing and really only function well in harmony and bliss, we're going to go home to that, but we don't have to be neighbors to the hostile ones and the ones that, can't stand, that energy around them without wanting to destroy it or feeling just so stuck in their ego nature that they'd rather have control over it, even if it means destroying the environment. It's pure power, and that's what some call the patriarch, but I always see it, men and women are responsible for patriarchy, not just men. It might be a male system because it seems, very much those archetypal stereotypes, but it's very much a choice that a lot of people have made to just want power, and to put the dollar as way more important than hungry children being fed and, all the things that those with a heart can't even stomach on a day-to-day basis.
Well, now, you do a lot of work with the divine feminine. Do you feel that the patriarchal energies are starting to break apart now to some extent, and that the divine feminine is going to be energetically balancing the planet to a greater extent in the near future?
Well, I kind of, and that's all that I kind of, I'm not kind of using that title for myself, but I'm so immersed with it on a cosmic level, not so much, the physical form or the physical expression of, I'm so divine, but it's like there's a current of divine energy that is totally the mother energy, source energy, Sophia energy that is always available and always there. And, my physical being and my conscious being have no separation from that, even if I've tried, and believe me, I've tried to just get away from it as well-intentioned as it is. When you're dealing with bushwhacking through the most hellacious hell regions, sometimes you're just like, just get me out of here for a little bit, and there's just no way. So Venus-Pluto thing in my whole chart is so Libra and all Libra that balancing act and that concept of sacred union is really just, it's like it's a life or death thing for me. It's so embedded in my soul and in my past lives and my connection to and I see that in everybody. I mean, I see that we all carry that. It's just extremely loud in me to the point of very uncomfortable at times. And so I do see that. As far as where the patriarch is now, I know that its power is dwindling on so many other levels that the oil spill is a last resort. It's like so many of us are awakening. They can't kill people off like they used to. We're now able to talk about alien agendas without being, having them come and, kill our family. I mean, and that has happened in the past, and a lot of us, take huge risks when we come out with this information. But the great thing is, so many of us we're all awakening it to all at once that you can't really get away with, you can't really destroy it at this point. So, okay, well, what do they do now? Well, we can, destroy very important parts of the Gaia being, and, they already have manipulated the vortex, the ley lines, and different energy points that are very much the creative energy of this planet, in order to take control of it. So I'm not trying to say that the oil spill is a patriarchal move and it's a global elite thing, but I swear sometimes I look way deep underneath it all, and I feel that intensely. And, I just fight against it energetically between me and myself and it. Not anything I write about, but it's a constant dialogue day and night of just, there's something that I'm somewhat in communication with that does want to destroy this planet, does want to take over, the feminine energies, that aren't really even feminine. I mean, it's sort of sexless. We're talking like the infinite oneness that, births everything. It's not necessarily male or female. The reason it translates as divine feminine is because when we look throughout history, that is something that's been misunderstood. The stories and the embodiments of it have been, very much thrown out of our awareness and replaced by, different things that just don't give the feminine much expression on the spiritual level. And, females have sabotaged that part of themselves too. And it's a collective agreement to wake up. It's not anybody's fault or blame, but, you can't point fingers if you're repressing it within yourself. And men, of course, carry the feminine energies too. So what I see is that we're all really going to get in touch with that and what it means. And it's not just, a glowy, shiny, spiritual feminine energy thing. It's about creativity, fertility, restoration, nurturing, rebuilding, this planet from the ground up. And sure, it has a maternal vibration to it, but it takes the masculine warrior to be able to implement it. And this is where divine union and sacred union and the male and female have to work together. The only attention I put on the divine feminine is that the Magdalene energy is so strong in me, and the Sophia energy, and it's basically been buried alive. So it's sort of like, I'll give it a little bit of attention and just kind of remind people it's there. And then once that's established, okay, let's harmonize, let's balance, and, bring it all back into, restoring the tree of life and bringing all these myths and all these stories into a place of complete and total awareness, so that we're not just functioning from one side of our brain, logic and reason and science and physics, but there's actually a story behind it that we can all connect to. And that's what movies are made of. There's always a villain, there's always a battle between good and evil, and there's always, a love story that triumphs. It's the love of one's life, and that's heaven on earth. And that's, the nature in us that needs our bliss being, needs our bliss body, needs love, needs connection. So that always wins. But in those periods where it's lacking, even the person, even us individually, deal with the shadow side of ourselves. And so on a much larger level on this globe, it's very much a similar story of what anybody goes through when they're separated from love and they're battling, authority and parents. And so, there is this structure, but it's completely trumped by the power of love. And that part of the story is where, we choose to reconnect with our divine nature and, treat the opposite sex with a hell of a lot more respect. And give ourselves self-respect, because if we don't do that first, then, who's going to want to take us seriously? Or at least it's harder. I mean, people can be really good, they can be really good at deceiving and acting like a certain way, but that expires along with these power gains and these power structures that we're pulling out of.
Mm-hmm.
And what is left is the core, and that's where we're headed.
The movie Avatar kind of expressed what you were just saying in a very beautiful way for our times.
Yeah, that movie.
The movie Avatar?
Yes.
It just seemed to capture the essence of what you were talking about so well.
Right. And it's so true. So, I always kind of look to that, because if I lose the story, then I just get caught up in the chaos, and then I just remember, when we cling to the love and we cling to the focus of what it really means to be doing the right thing on an everyday basis, then obviously it's going to reach a certain point. I mean, we plant seeds all the time. We can't just snap our fingers and make something happen, but we can't plant seeds and just walk away. I mean, they need to be watered. Soil needs to be nurtured. We need to understand that even if it's at a certain stage and it's not in full bloom, that it's going to get there. And that's what 2012 represents to me, too. It's like it's a natural blossoming, and it's a seed that's been planted a long, long time ago. And my path, particularly, is all about nurturing that seed, even planting that seed, going into the underworld consciously and saying, I'm going to put this vibration there, and eventually it'll grow. And, people can just, find it within and look to it for strength. And it doesn't, not me, but the energy of it. And, we're all kind of co-creating that together. Anytime we face adversity and we choose to, allow ourselves to continue to dream and not be defeated. It's that will that we carry that makes us survivors and makes us still functioning, because none of us would still be here today if we weren't strong. I mean, the grief would swallow us up, We've witnessed so much catastrophe and trauma, and, the fact that any of us can stand here and still believe in the vision just shows that it's unbreakable. And it's unbreakable with me, even though at times I have nothing but anger and rage.
Yeah. Well, I can't say that I blame you or anybody else for having those feelings and letting them up. You must feel that you have assistance from a guide, a team, or higher spiritual authorities to have gone through so much and come through the other side of it. Yeah,
I do. I mean, that's all I could really... It's the only validation I ever had was this communication with Spirit and some of the dreams I had. My dreams really did save me, particularly from this Mars thing. It was in the first article that Alfred Weber and Examiner.com expressed about, dreaming that I was taken up into the ship and I had a choice, and then I fell back into the water, and all this alignment happened. And then I woke up and I told, my partner, and he was just like, whoa, you shouldn't have told me that, because at that point he hadn't told me he was an agent yet. But yet my dream had told me I would be facing these agents who were going to take me off planet, and that I had a choice and that I would have to break free. And, dreams and just knowing, just connecting with something that it's like the connection was so strong that there is no other bond that could be formed that could lead me astray. The minute I heard the word bond, I was like, I'm not going, that's just all there is to it. And I was standing by that. And, I considered it, as long as I had a voice and I could have the support that I needed to work on my Earth mission, then maybe I consider it, but it would have to be something that humanity is in on. It's not some secret. It's not for some special, it's like, I put spirit in our soul way beyond genetics. And any tribe or group of people or country or nation or race that makes their superior, that makes no sense to me, because it's your spirit and it's your nature and it's the goodness in you. That doesn't make you superior, but it makes you powerful on a healing level and on a level that actually makes a difference in this world. Survival of the fittest is a total scam. I mean, of what? Strong people walking around fighting wars and being evil? Like, who cares?
Crazy. Crazy. It's insane. It's insane, and it just seems to all be set up just to keep the same old paradigms in place. And, it's gotten even worse in my lifetime, seeing that now we're in a constant state of terror and war. And we've got several wars going on at the same time. Well, those kinds of experiences have to be healed and stopped. And I think the only thing that's going to do that is, like we were talking about, is the higher vibration that will reveal that the wars and killing are negative, lower vibration aspects, and they're not going to be possible